Welcome back to another edition of Gary's Record Collection. And this time out, we're doing another deep dive audio analysis. We're going to look at different versions of Led Zeppelin's fourth album. Came out in 1971. It's the one, that has Stairway to Heaven on it, and some other great songs too. It was so popular that it was pirated. And what I mean by that was there were other record companies that were sort of fly-by-night that put out their own copies of Led Zeppelin 4. So basically they picked up a copy of the fourth album, duplicated it, and then sold it as their own. It sounds like you couldn't get away with this, but they did. The laws at the time allowed that sort of thing, and the copyright laws that were on the books were kind of loose, and this stuff got through the cracks. All right, so what are we talking about? We're talking about, here it is. This is Led Zeppelin 4. This is my copy that I got in the early 80s. This is the second generation Led Zeppelin album. This is the one that has the catalog number 19129, I believe. 19129. Came out in 77. This is when Atlantic went back and took the first 5 albums and reordered them, gave them sequential catalog numbers. So this is the pressing that came out then, and that's what I'm most used to. So we're going to use that as the benchmark. So now, what about these pirate albums? Check this out. This is Led Zeppelin 4 on Melody Recordings, listed as P.O. Box 523, West Caldwell, New Jersey, 07006, if you care to drop it on the line. Now, this cover is pretty fascinating because it's got this crown and scepter picture on the front. And what Melody Recordings did, they actually used this same layout for a whole bunch of artists. In fact, I've got one over here, and I just picked up a still sealed copy, believe it or not. It's Aretha Franklin, Young, Gifted, and Black. But look, it's the same cover. It's the same yellow on the top and the front like that. So it's like, and I have an Emerson, Lake and Palmer one that's like that too. But here it is. So this is the Melody Recordings one. And actually, a couple of years ago, picked up one that was still sealed. After 50 years, still sealed. It's craziness. Why? Why is it still sealed? I don't know. Then we have, from an outfit called Right On Records. Right On Records. Here it is. This is also Led Zeppelin 4 with a little artwork on the cover that I guess the kids would like. 2120 South Highland Drive, Las Vegas, Nevada. Not affiliated with any other company. Interesting. It says on the back of this record, this stereo record complies with all the requirements of federal law. Title 17, Section 1 and 101 U.S. Code. All royalties required to be paid by federal law have been paid. Maybe not. Maybe they just put that on there to like if the feds came along, it's like, well, they must have paid their royalties. It says so right here on the album. Must be. So we'll let them go scot-free. So I'm not sure about that. And then I have another album, which is not really Led Zeppelin 4. It's a combination of songs from the third and fourth album. It came out in the late 80s, 88 or 89, from Russia. And it's all in Russian. There you go. Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven, the English title of it. And if you look on the back, everything is all in Russian, which was kind of interesting. You kind of read some of the song titles like, oh, I can sort of figure this out, kind of. Especially like the names. Robert looks like Pobert. So interesting stuff. So here we've got 4 different things. So let's bring up our window. We're going to do a little housekeeping here too, and move me over so we can see what's going on here. All right, so we're going to look at this is we're going to start with Black Dog. This is from the official album. Here we go.
Hey, mama said the way you move gonna make you sweat, gonna make you groove. The way you shake that thing gonna make you burn, gonna make you stay.
All right, so yeah, that's the album, and that's a good sound and everything. Obviously, because it came from master tapes or submasters from Atlantic Records, so they are official. This is Melody Recordings. Let's take a listen to this one.
Hey, hey, mama said the way you move gonna make you sweat, gonna make you groove.
Now, this one sounds a little bit more thin. There's not a lot of bottom end on this.
Make you burn, gonna make you stay.
And so you wonder if when they were making a copy of it, did they run it through an equalizer to punch up the top and bring down the bottom? And then you have to wonder, like, what was the source of the recording for this? Did they get it from an album? Did they get it from a cassette or even a reel-to-reel? Because those albums were all out on reel-to-reel. It would be easy to string a reel-to-reel up and make a copy of it. Now, granted, those reel-to-reels were not running at 15 inches per second, which is an industry standard for duplication. I mean, cassettes are like at 1 7/8 inch per second, which is very slow. So the fidelity is not that high. And I think reel-to-reels maybe were 3 3/4 inches per second. So a step up from the cassette, but still not the quality of the professional master recording. So that was Melody Records. Now let's listen to the Right On Records version.
Hey, hey, mama said the way you move gonna make you sweat, gonna make you groove.
Now, this is interesting because it has a more beefy sound to it. And if you look at the waveforms, the waveform is actually a little bit bigger top to bottom on this one, even compared to the official album. So they did a really good job of mastering that for album, even though they were duplicating it. It does sound pretty good, actually. And if you didn't know, you just listen to it. It's like, man, it sounds great. It's like what I heard on the radio. Sounds great. This is now the Russian album, and I have my suspicion is this was probably mastered off of compact disc rather than a cassette, an album, or a reel-to-reel.
Hey, hey, mama said the way you move gonna make you sweat, gonna make you groove.
Good sound on this, clean. So let's say that this was, let's just assume that this was done off compact disc. They took Led Zeppelin 3, Led Zeppelin 4, probably the first versions of the CDs that came out in the early 80s, and they went and made their own album of it. So we're going to get rid of the Russian album because that doesn't quite fit in. We're going to go back and now listen to... This is the guitar solo in Stairway to Heaven. Let's take a listen. This is the my album from '77, catalog 19129. And there you go. It's the classic sound. It sounds great, as you would expect it to be. Here's Melody Recordings of the same thing. And actually, it sounds like there might be a little bit of a wow and flutter in that tape, which would indicate that it would probably came from a very low fidelity source, like a low speed source like a cassette. And again, it has that more compressed sound where the low end is right out of it. Let's go back to the Right On Records one. I kind of got a good feeling about this, actually. Hang on here. This sounds good. It's not bad at all. So whatever they were doing to make that copy, they did it really well. Now the question is like you may wonder, it's like, where did you get these records? Where were they sold? Not in record stores. From what I can tell, like, believe it or not, truck stops were places where you could get albums on the cheap and all these knockoff records. Truck stops or drugstores even, and they're just filling their bins. Their supplier comes in and say, hey, I got some records, throw them in and sell them. Whether they were from the actual record company or not apparently didn't matter. And so that's why you had Melody Recordings and Right On Records putting out this album, because it was a huge seller. It was so popular and they were cashing in on it. It would be today, copying a Taylor Swift CD and pressing it to an album and putting it out under a different company name and passing it off as legitimate product. And today, with the laws that are in place, that's not going to happen. Somebody's going to go either pay a big fine or go to jail, or both. But in the 70s, it wasn't that way until they changed the laws. So they're interesting records to pick up. There's another one out there, a copy of Led Zeppelin 4 on another company label that I have not gotten yet. I've seen it once or twice on eBay. I'd like to get it just to have it as a curiosity. But again, it's like buyer beware, especially with sound quality. You never know what you're going to get because it's not from the actual legitimate record companies. So get it as a curiosity, and that's, live with it like that, and it's part of your collection. It's part of my collection. I hope you like that. We'll see you next time on Gary's Record Collection.